thousands of years before God's fire. The city of Wardoom stank. It stank of filth and disease. It was a brutal place to grow up in. Many did not make it to adulthood. 2 boys, close to the same age, grew up in the worst part of Wardoom. They were not brothers by blood, but the hardships they endured bonded them as family. The boys were very different in personality. Josek was cunning and sly, while Kentel was aggressive and had a moral indignance that was absent in Josek. While Kentel would do physical work for food and supplies, Josek would cheat, manipulate, or steal from others to stay alive. Both children could not depend on their parents, but quickly learned they could depend on each other and shared everything one boy had with the other. They both grew lean and strong, and as teenagers, Kentel was showing a physical and mental toughness on the streets. His no-nonsense but generous nature was beginning to set him apart from other boys in the city. Meanwhile, Josek was discovering he had a bit of the magic in his bones, and with a little guidance from a failed starving wizard, he was able to pull off basic spells in a short amount of time, as long as he provided his teacher with a bit of food. Josek became stronger in his sorcery and excelled in disguise spells and mind control. He quickly outgrew his homeless teacher's knowledge. Kentel and Josek remained the closest of friends, but Kentel was becoming concerned with Josek's growing power and lack of remorse when using it to others' detriment. When he expressed this to Josek, Josek would tell him, "I do these things for us to survive and grow strong. Someday we will heal this city and make it beautiful. I will destroy anyone I have to save the ones that matter." Kentel asked, "And would you also destroy me if I disapproved of your methods?" "You are my chosen brother. I would never cross you, lest I be damned," replied Josek. Kentel rose to prominence through hard work and before long got a job as a mason. He was well fed for the first time in his life and worked hard with heavy stone every day, making him strong as a bull. He saw less of Josek, but the men remained close through letters. Josek had entered a wizard camp. He was honing his magical powers when war came to Wardoom. Kentel answered the call and joined the army of Wardoom. There he learned the art of combat and excelled in rank faster than anyone ever had seen. When the bloody 10-year war was over, Kentel was a general. Riding into Wardoom with legions of men behind him, Kentel saw that Wardoom looked even worse than what he remembered. People were sicker and even more desperate. Under his command, he had created great wealth through war, and all of it was sent to Wardoom. He was expecting an improved city, not this rotting corpse of a town. Kentel was furious and demanded to speak to someone in charge of the city. He was taken by surprise when he was told that the city was ruled by a wizard, Josek Gonsalves. He immediately asked to be taken to him. Before too long, the men stood face to face. Kentel was torn with emotion. He was seeing the man he thought of as his brother for the first time in 10 years. He wanted to hug him, but something was very off about Josek. He looked old and pale, yet moved with ease and power. Josek greeted Kentel. "Brother, I'm so glad you're home. I've heard all of your stories, all the stories of your conquests. I'm so proud," Kentel said. "I'm happy to see you too, but you look unwell." "Don't be alarmed, my friend. I know I look a bit different, but make no mistake, I am healthier than I have ever been. More powerful, too," Josek said through a thin smile. "How has it come to be that you are in control of Wardoom?" Kentel asked. Smiling larger now, Josek answered, "So much to tell. First, I took over the magic school, but sadly it was destroyed by an evil wizard. I barely survived. With my school gone, I have been using my powers to help our city recover from this plague. I'm so glad you're back. I need your military. We can finally heal this city. I've always told you I'll stop at nothing. With a sick feeling in his stomach, Kentel asked, "And what if I disapprove of your methods?" Josek's reply was solemn this time, but familiar. "I would never cross you, lest I be damned." Kentel left Josek and went out amongst the people. Wearing pristine whites and gold armor among the filthy sick citizens, he looked closer to an angel than a man. One man approached and said, "Have you come to save us, Matzinger?" Pausing a moment, Kentel remembered the meaning of this title in the ancient tongue of his people. Matzinger meant grand hero. Others referred to him by this name. He walked further as people began to follow. He addressed a small group, asking, "Who destroyed the magic school?" The answer was horrifying. "It was also Gonzalez. He went mad, killed all the magic wielders he did." Kentel's heart sunk. "And this plague people speak of? What of it?" "It started after the sorceress took control of the city. There was no one here to stop him. Wizards were all dead and the soldiers were gone. We have been waiting for you, Matzinger." Kentel was now sure of what he already knew. Josek was pure evil. He found a place to himself and wept for an hour. Knowing that he had to confront Josek, he readied his weapons and stood ready to face the only person who had always been by his side, and set out for battle. He marched toward the castle where he had met Josek earlier that day. People began to follow him. Along the way, he passed a slaughterhouse. The thin, frail, freshly slain animals were hanging gutted, a meager offering of meat. Grabbing a scrub brush off the butcher's table, he soaked it in bright red animal blood and, making a crossing motion, marked his chest with a message for his brother. Other followers of Matzinger did the same. When he arrived at the castle, there were 1,000 people with him to bear witness to what was about to occur. Standing outside, Kentel yelled, "Gonzalez!" No response came. He yelled once more, "Josek, you have crossed me!" This time, the sorcerer revealed himself. Floating down from a large tower, he gently landed in front of Kentel. Looking at the blood-drawn cross on his chest, Josek said, "A bit dramatic, don't you think?" Ignoring him, Kentel asked Josek, "Please lift whatever spell you have put on this city and leave, lest you be damned, Josek." Josek replied, "Don't call me Josek anymore. My name is Gonsalves." Gonsalves instantly radiated a blast of energy from his soul. It stripped him of his flesh and transformed him into a bony demonic being, offering only terror to the eyes. The two engaged in fierce battle. The fate of the city hung in the balance. Both warriors fought with every ounce of energy they possessed. It was a standoff. After hours of brutal fighting, both were barely left able to stand. Kentel, always being the stronger of the two physically, used his last ounce of life to drive his sword into the rib cage of his opponent. Josek drew on his last ounce of dark magic to make one last explosion, disintegrating his own body but hurling Kentel through the air. The concussive energy left Kentel dead. With the battle over, only Kentel's body remained. The huge crowd lifted him up and carried his body through the city. People began crossing themselves with red to honor their Matzinger. The story of how Matzinger saved the city of Wardoom became legend. The Red Cross became a symbol of heroism, and few knew that it was originally a symbol of betrayal. Sometime later, the Grand Order started in Wardoom, and the first leader of the Grand Order adopted the Red Cross as its symbol. The legend of Matzinger grew, and he became the godlike figure that the Grand Order is based on.